Hey everybody, it's Party Elite, finally welcoming you back to another episode of our Planet Zoo franchise mode Let's Play. We're gonna dive right back into Elite Zoo South. I apologize, of course, for the extremely long delay between episodes here, folks, but as you can imagine, with the E3 weekend and everything that goes on around it, this weekend has been absolutely wild. I've been trying to, obviously, keep everything going on schedule every time there's an interruption, but that's kind of the catch-22 with a Let's Play, I suppose, is sometimes, every so often, that schedule has to be set aside when there's either an emergency or a bit of news or what have you. But E3 is behind us, the future is ahead of us, and my oh my, is the future not looking ever so bright. Not only are we back on schedule now, of course, as usual, but it seems next week, almost immediately, if I've got the date right, it would be next week, I think, almost immediately, we're going to be hitting a tweaked schedule again, because, folks, the next DLC for Planet Zoo has now been announced, and a very exciting times ahead. Some of those animals might actually be relevant to Elite Zoo South, but the architectural styles are most certainly not, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the animals are more in the northern hemisphere than they are in the southern hemisphere. They might be kind of split between the north and the south, but what we'll probably end up doing is, rather than adding an Africa section to Elite Zoo North, we'll just add them to the Africa section of Elite Zoo South. Because, again, let's not forget that even though we try to stay true to a north-south hemisphere divide, a lot of the time that that line became fuzzy at Elite Zoo North, right? Because when we first started playing the game so long ago now, that wasn't the intent. The intent wasn't to do two separate zoos for North and South. It was just one big zoo, and then we realized what the reality is of frame rates and things like that, and that all started cropping up. So yeah, with regards to the upcoming DLC, I mean, I'm obviously very excited for it. There's some interesting animals coming through, some new animal behaviors coming through. And not just with the DLC, but the free update as well. So what I think we'll do is we will do what we did last time. I'm just talking about this really quickly right off the bat today, and then we're going to dive into the action. But we'll probably do what we did last time and the time before that, because I felt like that was a very fitting way, and it was a way that worked really well to cover all the DLC's animals. We could check them out. We could build spaces for them without having to wait for the right opportunity, like we did previously with the Australia DLC, for example. Comparing how the Australia DLC was implemented versus the Aquatic DLC versus the Southeast Asia DLC. I mean, if you take a look at it, the Southeast Asian animals from that DLC pack, outside of that mini-series, we haven't even touched them yet, right? So I feel like that approach really works because we can spend some time with the new content, check it all out. And plus, like I said, I'm pretty sure, I'm going off the top of my head right now, but I'm pretty sure they said that the architectural styles, the new pieces that are being provided are of the Moorish style, which would be distinctly North African. Again, we'll have to make the hemisphere lines a little fuzzy for the purposes of our zoos themselves, but for the purpose of exploring some of those pieces without it being out of place and all that kind of stuff, we'll have that separate kind of mini-series continuation, as it were, as we explore some of those animals. Really excited for that. There's some really fun stuff coming up, so I'm really excited for that, and I hope you are as well. Again, if you are planning on picking that DLC up, actually, I wasn't planning on mentioning this, but it just occurred to me. If you're planning on picking that DLC up, it should be available on my game store as of the release day. I'm going to try and make sure it's available as of the release day. I'll have a link in the description down below to my game store if you want to pick it up there while supporting the channel. You'll be getting a Steam key from that link. So it's just like a regular Steam key, just like any other. But I would also get sort of a bit of a kickback from that purchase, basically, so it would support the channel, helps the channel out, and you get something that you were trying to get anyway, right? Anyway, sorry, rambled on about that. I'm really excited, so I guess that's why I'm rambling, but I've rambled on about that for long enough. Let's go ahead and tackle what's to come over the course of the next week, at least, before that DLC kind of comes up, and we're going to dance around that. So, based on the comments of the previous episode, I have got some excellent feedback. So first of all, I'm glad to see that everybody more or less agrees with my feelings about this section over here. Not just that, like, it's nice to finally see this space worked on and kind of like done-ish. I say ish because, again, nothing's ever really done, right? I'm glad to see that many of you recognize the reference I was making as well, because I was nervous putting that question out there. I was like, oh man, what if I've done such a terrible job that nobody recognizes it? But no. Many, if not all of you who mentioned it, did recognize the reference I was making, so that's excellent. But beyond that as well, I think many of you also agreed that having this spot of white really does help kind of unify the zoo, brings it all together, and it makes it feel like part of the whole, right? Which I think is very important as well to kind of, again, unify the experience. So very pleased with that. But that's not all that was discussed in the comments or previous episode. Of course, we also talked about the giant enclosure potential, right? A giant shared space. I wanted to see how people felt about that, and it seems, by and large, y'all are down. And that's very exciting because this is going to be challenging for me in more ways than one. For one, I think I've said it many times now. If we pan on down to this section over here, vast open expanses are perhaps some of my weakest spots, weakest points. I mean, even the hippos over here. I mean, I'm pleased with how both of these spaces have ended up. Let me be clear. I quite like this space. However, it's always a struggle for me. It's a challenge. It's difficult for me to get these to a point that I quite like. But we got these really interesting executions. Again, thanks to the suggestions in the comments as well. We got these really interesting executions in a otherwise plain area, which made the space come to life, and I finally felt good about how this place looked. But otherwise, plains are a very big challenge for me. Vast expanses are a very big challenge for me, and so I'm really excited. Sorry, I can't help myself, man. Come on, are you serious? You're so cute. Oh, what a cutie. So I'm really excited for that aspect of it. And again, we've been talking about doing some more joint enclosures as well. We don't often get the chance to do that, so this is going to be a great one because it's not just a joint enclosure between two animals like the anteaters and the Baird's tapir, but 4, I think it was. So why don't we go ahead and pick one as today's focus. That's my plan, is for the next little while, we're going to be building this space. And because it's going to be so large, my plan is that it'll take time for us to do it justice, right? I won't divide it into striped sections or anything. I want it to feel like a whole area. But in my approach, I might, be like, okay, well, today we're introducing X animal. Let's plan around its needs and wants and lay out, an area that is its home per se. So think of it that way. Each animal kind of gets its home, but they're able to travel the entire range is kind of what's in my mind right now. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to stick to that, but that's where my head's at right now. So with that said, let's go ahead and pick out our first animal. So I'm just going to use the African buffalo as the arbiter of my oh god, this is not the right word to use, but I'm going to use it as my my menu, I suppose, to choose which I don't know. I can't help myself to choose my protein. Oh my god, I'm sorry. but it's just because they're all listed over here, and it's a quick reference. So the African buffalo is an option, obviously. The giraffe and the zebra have already got homes, so they're not going to be included in this space. We're going to have the warthog as well, has its own home as well. I didn't realize the warthog was in here. So we've got the wildebeest, ostrich, antelope, springbuck, gazelle, and buffalo. All pretty interesting animals. I think, you know what? I think I want to start with the ostrich. To me, of the bunch, they are the most unique, even though they're called the common ostrich. They're the most unique of the bunch. They have some very interesting behaviors that I would love to see, and I think they'd be a lot of fun. Plus, also, I think I like their background the most. It's part of what inspired me actually to do this. I quite like that rock formation and the terrain and everything. So you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with the common ostrich, and we'll obviously go over their Zoopedia entry, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the time lapse. Now, let me know again, folks, if you have a preference of which one of these you'd like to see sooner rather than later. Now, I see many requests for a lot of animals, by the way, a lot of the time. I just want to answer a couple questions really quickly. The African elephant is coming, fear not. It's one of my favorite animals as well. I love elephants, whether they're Indian elephants or African elephants or what have you. I love elephants, so African elephants are coming in due time. Probably going to give them Well, you'll see when we get to it. But that they are coming, so fear not. You don't have to worry about that. Also, another question I get asked very often is about Planet Coaster. I know it sounds irrelevant, but it comes up often enough that I feel like I should address this. Planet Coaster is most likely not going to happen on this channel unless there's a sequel that comes out or, you know, something like that. Because the game it's just a little too old. Yes, it's 100% up my alley, and I would enjoy it. However, unfortunately, running the channel isn't necessarily just about what I would enjoy. There's also, of course, I have to be very wary of, like, okay, well, what do people want to watch? What will people watch? What actually works, etc., etc., etc. There's all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be able to do Planet Coaster. The other thing is that I can only probably do one of these types of games at a time. So, you know, if I were to swap over to, let's say, Planet Coaster or Prehistoric Kingdoms, we'd have to, as we've talked about before, adjust the schedule a bit. We can figure it out when and if that time comes. And with the announcement of Jurassic World Evolution 2, I mean, maybe there's something to talk about sooner rather than later, but just a couple of heads up that I wanted to touch on. Again, I apologize for rambling about all this housekeeping stuff, but these are questions I get asked often, and usually I respond to the comments individually, but then I realize that, well, you know, not everybody sees all the responses, so might as well just address it in a video. I hope you all understand. Now, let's dive on in. I've been rearing to go. I can't believe I had to delay these episodes. I wanted to do this for so long now. All right. The common ostrich, the Struthio camelus. Fair enough. I wonder if there's a... Oh, I need to look up when and why that happened. Least concern, population in wild is unknown. The common ostrich, or Struthio camelus, is the largest known bird species in the world. Males have black body feathers and white feathers on their wingtips and tails, while females have gray-brown body feathers. On both sexes, the head, neck, and legs are pink to white in color, and there is some variation in appearance depending on the bird's original location in Africa. Oh, now that's interesting. How much of a variation? Typically when you say a variation, you mean subtle. But even subtle differences based on location, that's pretty interesting, because typically that's like it's like an evolutionary trait, right? Like, so you do it to adapt to your local, like, I'm almost going to call it an aesthetic. But if you're like, you know, if your coat is for temperature regulation, right, you know, you'll have that adjustment happening. If your coat is for camouflage, you'll have that adjustment happening. So I'm curious how varied they actually are. Because these guys just look like every ostrich I've ever seen in any form of media ever. The males have an average height of 7 feet to 9.2 feet, whereas females are smaller, measuring between 5.6 feet and 6.6 feet. Man, they are huge. As well as being widespread across the African continent, although not the deserts or rainforests there, the common ostrich has become common worldwide, often farmed for its meat, eggs, and feathers. Although not currently endangered, the species range is becoming restricted, with subspecies of ostrich declining in number due to human population growth and land use change. Interesting to know. Yeah, I've never personally had the opportunity to have ostrich egg, but it's one of those things that I'm quite curious about, because they are massive, and I do quite wonder. Like, I like eggs. I'm a big fan of eggs. But, like, I'm curious how different the flavor and the texture and all that kind of stuff is. Like, are they the same? I've always been curious. And this is very common. Ostrich egg is a fairly common, like, alternate egg, let's call it. So maybe I should have had lunch before I recorded today. Talking about proteins, talking about eggs. Anyway, cool. Okay, interesting stuff here. Natural habitat. Pretty vast expanses, so I guess just below, this is all of Africa except deserts and rainforests, and then we've got the desert biome over here. So what, I guess this is just below the Sahara, right? And then all the way down over here as well. Pretty widespread, and it looks like they are, in fact. So this is what I'm hoping that the Africa DLC will bring us, is animals. Again, I don't know, like, the details of those animals to that extent. But I would hope that they are kind of spread out across the continent, where they are, you know, both sides of the equator. But time will tell, I suppose. They don't need too much space. They're going to get a lot more space than that, though. I imagine they can be quite big in their in number. I mean, quite large in number. Good stuff. Good stuff. Of course, no climbing or swimming or anything like that. All right, cool. Species data. Group size excluding juveniles. Oh, actually, that's not as big as I expected. I was expecting like double digits, 12 to 15. So that's smaller than I expected. So group size, 1 male, 7 females. Male and female bachelor group sizes are just 1 to 2. Interesting. Dominance. Top hen leads nomadic groups when grazing. Alpha males in breeding groups. Oh, okay. Hang on a second. Well, that's interesting. Whoa. Very different. So top hen leads nomadic groups when grazing. Alpha males in breeding groups. What is that subdivision? I'm very curious. Now, mating system is polygynous. Relation with humans is neutral. Guests cannot enter the habitat. Fair enough. Average size of the male is 8.25 feet tall. Female, 6.105 feet tall. Very precise. Precise? Accurate? Which one am I looking for here? It's a lot of decimal points. Life expectancy is 46 years across the board. Weight is 275 pounds for males, 242 for females. I've always wondered, every time we do this, I wonder, like, the average life expectancy, do they just kind of, like, make them the same? Or are they truly the same? I can't remember if we've ever come across an animal where it's been, different. And, like, you look at humans, for example, we have vastly different, vastly is maybe a hyperbole, but we have fairly different life expectancies between males and females. And throughout history that, it's changed, the range has changed. So I'm quite curious about that. Like, what are the chances that every animal ever has had the exact same average life expectancy? Pretty high, I guess, if Zoopedia is to be believed. Age of sexual maturity is at 3 years. Sterility is at death. Number of offspring per mating event is 1 to 5. Gestation of 1 month. Interbirth of 12. Reproduction in captivity is very easy. And I imagine these guys don't go for very much, for too many conservation credits, so something to keep in mind as well. Social needs. In the wild, ostriches are primarily social animals. During the breeding season, a small group of females will inhabit the territory of a dominant male who temporarily joins their herd. Oh, I understand now. During other times of year, ostriches live in large nomadic herds that move through the savanna, often alongside other species of grazing animals. That is very interesting. Okay, so, from my understanding, let's keep reading first. So, reproduction. During the breeding season, a top hen and her group of females will search for a dominant male with good territory. The group will remain with this chosen male for the entire breeding season. In order to mate, the male will court the top hen with a dance in which he alternates the beating of his wings and ritualistic pecking at the ground, wooing the female into crouching down and allowing him to mate with her. Then he will dig a nest, a shallow dip in the ground in which the top hen will lay 7 to 10 eggs. Subsequently, the male will mate with all females in the group. These females will each lay their eggs around the top hens, who in turn will then remove some of the eggs that are not hers. Wow. Once approximately 20 eggs are in the nest, up to a total of 60 may have been laid, the top hen will incubate them during the day, while the alpha male will incubate them during the night. After 35 to 45 days, the eggs will hatch and the male will take care of them until they're about 10 months old and capable to fend for themselves. After 18 months, the ostriches will be full size, and between 2.5 and 4.5 years old, they will be able to reproduce themselves. Now, okay, that is very cool. That's very fascinating. That's a lot of very, very unique behaviors, at least as far as we've seen in Zoopedia. So basically, males have territory, right? They're the landlords, I guess, and the females are all nomadic. They have their like groups with one in charge. The one in charge is the one that the male needs to woo to get all of her group to stay. And then the male mates first with the primary hen, what's the term they use over here? The top hen, and then mates with the other hens, and then the top hen removes some of the eggs. Man, damn, there's a comedy sketch there waiting to happen. That's really interesting. So now I'm curious, what determines the top hen, though? We talk about what makes a male attractive, but what makes a hen the top hen? Is it age? Is it size? What is it? I really want to know. That's so fascinating. Damn. Okay, cool. I know some things about ostriches, but I've never known this. That's very fascinating. Very cool. Research, of course, we haven't got anything. They've got, again, just kind of I know I say it every time, but I do wish every animal had at least one unique habitat enrichment. At least one. In a species, we are already very familiar with this, of course. Buffalo, wildebeest, warthog, zebra, giraffe, antelope, springbok, and gazelle, of which they will be getting all -3, right? So it's going to be a pretty crowded space. Pretty crowded space. So it is the common ostrich. I need to remember that it is the common ostrich and not just the ostrich. I meant to go here. Animal trading, animal storage. not storage. Oh, this is gonna be... And we're almost topped up again, eh? I wonder if we do another trade session or something. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Should we do another live streamed trade session? Or do I just release some of these guys to the wild? Because I could use some conservation credits. I'm not in like desperate need for them, but I could use some conservation credits, I suppose. And I don't think we're going to see much much success in simply trying to sell them. But if I go to the animal market and we take a quick peek right now at the common ostrich, there's a couple things I have to do actually. I do also need to get more. I'm trying to remember the comment right now. I need to get more. I think it's female penguins. I need to get more of one of the penguins, like one of the sexes, because there's a mismatch in numbers, and that means we're gonna have some lonely penguins. So thank you for pointing that out. I do need to sort that out, but I will hopefully I'll remember to do that afterwards. There are some options over here. I'm gonna have to get Thandui because that name is very similar to Thranduil, and I can't help myself. I'm gonna adopt you. Very cheap as well, decent stats. It's got to be one male, right? Kitwana is also tempting. Also sounds like a pop culture reference that I quite like. Hassan, we need females, right? Females. We have not that many, eh? So let's go ahead and pick you up. AB260, we're gonna have to rename you. Different, from a different place. Zoo Ohana and, what was the other one? Baboland, so we're okay. Romilla here, really poor stats. This Romilla. Okay, no fertility though. What about Dahlia here? Also okay, very low fertility. I would like to see, I mean, maybe they became, leucistic? Is it a hard C? I always forget. I think it's leucistic. Because of inbreeding, which is why the fertility is so low. I don't know. But, it is one of the things that one of the biggest things about this game is like I wish it was more I don't want to say punishing, but more particular about things like albinism. This comes up often. Typically there are downsides. I don't know about being leucistic. I'll be honest, I don't know if they're the same thing, but typically there are downsides, and this game tends to downplay the downsides to those genetic, mutations and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and get Latoya here as well. And again, if I'm mistaken in that statement, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But at least among animals, I'm pretty sure there are like problems that are associated with albinism. Wild parklets. No, you're a male. Whoops, that would have been bad. Salia, sure, let's pick you up as well from Suciperium. Grab you. All right, cool. I think that's. I'm actually surprised I could fit them all. We have one male and 3 females, enough to start us off with, and we'll wait around. We'll see if more options come up, and we'll deal with the penguins. You know what? Maybe okay. Let me just very quickly here check. Best way to probably do this is actually down over here. Animal zoo, animals, species, penguin. You're not just penguin, are you? I wish I could search this. It's a something penguin, right? King penguin, there we go. I was like, which penguin was it? For the life of me, I couldn't remember. So we have quite a few, actually. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 males. 3, 6, 7, 8, yeah. And 1, 2, 3, 4 females. So I need 4 more females. 4 more female penguins here. Where are we? Penguin. It's all males. Please, females first here. What? Females only. Alright, I guess we only have 3 available. Go ahead and grab all 3 of you. We only have room for 3 of them as well. And we'll go ahead and ship them around after the time lapse, I think. I think we've waited long enough, folks. It's gonna be huge. This is gonna be an interesting enclosure. But folks, it's time lapse time. Alright, folks, this time lapse, like many of our recent time lapses, is one I'm very happy with. I'm really quite pleased with how things have been going lately with Elite Zoo South. There was a time relatively recently-ish, I guess. I mean, I guess it was a long time ago now. Everything's a blur. But there was a time relatively recently where I was just like starting to feel like things, like I was hitting some rough patches more often than not, and I was having to like redo spaces or undo things more often than not, or just like, you know, accept certain limitations from the game more often than not. But of late, for the last handful of, you know, new areas, new enclosures, I've just felt like things have worked out really quite nicely. And I couldn't tell you where that like shift happened, but it definitely feels, you know, one of those innate feelings. It's just like that, I guess. But today's time lapse, I'm really quite pleased with. Where we're getting a very interesting, sort of not just enclosure. That's not all I want to say, but there's an interesting shape to it. There's an interesting, you know, movement about it. You can see, like, for example, the path over here, getting the path to come down over here and hook up like that. We've got an interesting shape going on. We've got this interesting kind of like viewpoint that I actually make some adjustments to after the time lapse as well. So you'll see me work on this during the time lapse. So then after the time lapse, I realized there were some missed opportunities. So I get to go in there and kind of fix those up. And it just, I don't know, it comes together really nicely. I'm really, really quite happy with today's session. Not just during the time lapse, but outside the time lapse as well. After the time lapse, especially, there's some really, just some great moments in today's episode that I'm really quite pleased with. So yeah, I hope you guys like this episode as well, as much as I do, because I certainly had a really good time recording this one. But yeah, so to stay focused on the conversation at hand, I suppose we are building sort of one of those, you know, expansive like plains types enclosures that are typically my weak spot, alongside architecture. Again, it's like modern architecture. That's a weak spot for me, primarily because of how like those grid pieces work, and they just like drive me up a wall. And then these like vast open spaces, they're my weak spot, because it's like, well, what do you do with this open space? And I get it. You put like, you know, yeah, undulations in the terrain. You get like your ups and downs, and put a little like bit of water here and some shrubbery there and stuff. But it's just like, for some reason, it just doesn't come as naturally to me as some of our more like built up enclosures. And I don't even know what I exactly mean by that anymore, you know, because like Pride Rock back there sticking out, that's obviously not, I mean, it mimics a natural thing, you know. Pachamama's garden, you get what I mean, right? Like Pachamama's garden, for example, it's built up, but it's not architecture, right? I don't even, I'm trying to think of examples, and I'm just drawing blanks right now, but hopefully you know what I mean. There's just this weird like balance of where I feel super comfortable and where I feel like there's like I'm very there are spaces where I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing, and then there are spaces where I get frustrated because the systems don't work the way I want them to work. And then there are places where I'm just like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. I hope this works out. And giant empty spaces is definitely the third of those three. It's just like, oh man, I hope this works out. And this one does work out, actually. I'm really quite happy with how all the pieces come together. But the first steps actually do involve, yes, you know, building the path around it. I decide to put down some of these like food spots and drink spots. I go over all of them, you know, after the time lapse, so we can get names for them, of course. Drop them in the comments down below. Naturally, but I decided to put all these things down first so I can kind of like get a bit of a structure going on over here, and I'd love to see guests actually using this space, and I'm hoping these stores will draw them out. And it's really cool as well, unless I've misunderstood it, we're getting vistas as a part of the updates coming to Planet Zoo, and that should draw guests to certain spaces now, and so we should be able to bring them, you know, to really both sides of this enclosure. The upper space looking down, which is genuinely quite a vista, and then hopefully the lower space as well, which is at like eye level with the animals. Though I might need to make the enclosure bigger. More on that later, though, as over here we're actually working on making a more convenient staff path connection. I realize that like technically we kind of have a shortcut over here, because you have a straight line, more or less. You have like an L line, I guess, from the vet, animal trade center, the keeper's huts, all that stuff is like so close. It's right underneath the lion's den, right, so to speak. So it'd be silly to have somebody have to backtrack, go up the stairs, loop around, go over the tracks over here, only to end up by the lion's den that they were just next to already. You know, so I thought I'd make this little shortcut over here to also give us an opportunity to build the transformer and water treatment plants in a more appropriate location so that these things will be within range. So it's kind of like 2 birds, 1 stone kind of a thing. But then I think after that we go back to actually establishing our enclosure itself. Yeah, so getting this entrance down over here so it's the most convenient for our staff, but also I quite like the shapes it's making with the paths. So that's quite nice. Then over here, right now I'm just kind of like temporarily blocking in a lot of the barrier. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do to like stylize the barriers. Part of me is like, okay, do I want to do like a rock wall with gaps to look through? Do I want to just straight up do like, yeah, wooden, logs? Do I want to put down concrete and just make it like, just accept that it's artificial? Do I do glass? And basically the same thing. But I think glass is actually not going to be strong enough to hold back like the wildebeest. I would imagine the glass in the game is not strong enough to hold back a charging wildebeest. And if it is, then it's like, I don't know, it should be strong enough to hold back quite a bit, right? And for some reason, I just couldn't make this section just wasn't working. It wasn't letting me put any type of physical barrier down. It could only be the null, so I just put down some rocks. Turned all this to glass, and it doesn't look bad per se. Like I don't hate it, but I always have a hard time reconciling the extremely like kind of natural sections of an enclosure with these kinds of barriers, right? You'll notice it's across the board. On the topic of natural and unnatural, I think that's when I was experimenting with some of the watercolors. I don't know if you caught that there. But yeah, we'll see what I do with this. I don't know if it'll stay what it is right now, but maybe I put down some rocks and make little viewing panes through those rocks. That could work. I don't know if it does. And then I gotta figure it out. If you have any suggestions or thoughts or opinions, feel free to share them down below. But I'm kind of torn, I guess, with regards to exactly what I want to do. But with that said, of course, putting down some stuff to break apart. Again, taking my lessons from the hippo enclosure and trying to like break apart the planes right now, and then up top, coming back up top over here, making an adjustment so that this like lip type area, this overhang, overlook, whatever you want to call it, has that like feeling of actually being over the animals, as opposed to being so far back that you can barely see the ground, like you have to look down at like a 30-degree angle. This instead allows you to, if you so choose, yes, lean over the railing and look straight down at the animal as it's like drinking water or having some food. I quite like it, and I think I just got to figure out some of the like the railing stuff, like if I want to stick with the railing that comes with the game, or make some custom railing or what have you. But I'm quite pleased with how that works, and we're actually going to be adjusting that after the time lapse. But yeah, overall, pretty pleased with this space. There's a lot more to do, of course, and that will all have to come later as we add all of the animals over the next handful of sessions. But folks, that is it for today's time lapse. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Let me know down below if you have any opinions or questions or thoughts. Share them down below as well. But for now, it's back to regular speed. Alright, folks, we are back from the time lapse, and I'm pretty pleased with how things are coming along, actually, though I think I just realized the actual scope of what we're building over here over the course of that time lapse. I think it's a lot bigger than I led myself to believe. I think it's actually got to be a fair sight bigger than this. I quite like the overall shape we've got and everything, and there are a couple things I'd like to tweak or just make minor adjustments to. Like, I quite like how this space over here, there's this like lip, this overhang. Actually, as I say lip, it reminds me this thing. I can't be the only one who sees it. You see the mouth as well, right? You see the mouth, right? I'm not the only one who sees mouth shape. Anyway, I do quite like how there's this like little lip over here that hangs out, so you can kind of like step out a little bit and get a more, I mean, actually doing that kind of like, well, throws me off. You get a nice view over here. You can feel like there's nothing behind you. You're not on ground or anything, and you're right above the animals. So I feel like that's always cool to have. So I quite like this. But of course, I want to build some fencing over here. I don't know if it'll be like custom custom fencing, Or if I'll just do the generic path stuff, maybe I'll do the generic stuff just to help with piece counts and whatnot. Same thing goes on this side as well. While I would love to have the raised section continue, you know, actually I might be able to. No, there's not enough room over here to bring this up to that level and also attach it. Actually, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on. I thought I tried this during the time lapse, but let's try it again, shall we? Just really quickly over here, because I would kind of like the lip, as it were, the overhang, whatever you want to call it, to go on for a little bit longer, because I do feel like it creates a very interesting kind of experience, and I think it's a fun little whatchamacallit, why is it? What if I do? There you go. Perfect. I use that term very loosely. It's a nice viewing experience, I think. Yeah, but that's not the problem. The problem is, will this attach still? That was the issue. Because these guys can be pretty picky about hooking up. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, hang on a second. We might actually be able to do this. I thought I tested this, but maybe this was one of the things I didn't test. Okay, cannot use the angle snap, unfortunately. Gotta go freehand over here. You're good. You are good, and you are... Oh, come on now. Don't be... Yes, excellent. Okay, well, what do you know? It works. Cool. And that's why it's nice to revisit things sometimes. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of having these paths have the railing or whatever you want to call it. I might change that. I might go ahead and get rid of the railing here. I mean, I don't... They're elevated, but only ever so slightly. There we go. Oh, it's going to be funny like this, isn't it? Because... Oh, that's annoying. I'll figure something out to, like, cover this space up, just from a decorative perspective. But then it's gonna be barriers anyway, so why not just go with a regular, generic... Oh, I don't know. You know, we'll take a look at that. We'll revisit this, but for now, I'm at least pleased that, yeah, you kind of, like, come on up top over here. We could probably do the same thing over here as well. If I wanted this lip to continue all the way down to here, we could probably do that too. I don't mind its shape right now, so you've got this kind of, like, further back space, and then you've got this, like, space that, like, really sticks out. But we might do that kind of, like, across the board. Cool. All right, well, you know... Great. I love being able to improve my work from the time lapse after the time lapse. But yeah, so pretty like pleased with the space overall. You know, we've got this nice like, little space over here for drinking from, and hopefully that'll mean the animals are visible more often than not. Close to the ridge over there, we've got like some feeding spots over here, ostrich-specific feeding spots over here. So hopefully they'll be venturing about. But as I was putting all this stuff down, I realized I was like, I don't know if this place is big enough. I mean, it says that it's okay, over 3,180 square meters, so it should be big enough, but it doesn't feel big enough, does it? Right? I'm not the only one who... I don't know, just like looking at the size of the people, look at the animals, and it just doesn't feel big enough. I still gotta build hard shelters, and I was wondering if I wanted to do hard shelters like we did at Yanasi Plains at Elite Zoo North, kind of like build shelters out of this section over here. Rather than try and like build fake natural shelters. That's another thing I always struggle with these plains kind of areas, is like shelters. Like here, we built this overhang, right? But I don't want to just do the same thing all over again. With the hippos, we actually built a structure, so that worked out, obviously. But it's like those are the it feels like those are the only two options. Either you build a structure or you build like a cave or an overhang or something like that. I guess I don't know. I can't think of anything else right now. But I want to think a bit more on it, which is why you don't see a hard shelter just quite yet. I just want to try and figure out if there's something else I could do. But with that said, let's go ahead and bring in from our animal storage over here all of our ostriches first. We'll get the penguins in as well, but I want to do the ostriches first because today is supposed to be their episode, so to speak. Then to zoo. Come on. That doesn't mean we leave other animals behind, but it just means they're sort of the priority. Also, I'm quite pleased with this quarantines. Let's go. This underground connection, I think it works quite nicely as well. Kind of just like straight up over here, up a little ramp over here, keep going, up a little ramp over here. And you're out to this side. So just it should be easier access to go from the animal like quarantine, vet, and all that stuff down, over, and up, rather than, I guess it would be, what would it be? It would be like up over here, then over here, then over here, then over here. Yeah, this is definitely faster. This is definitely faster. Let's go ahead and unpause. Let time move forward. Let's get those ostriches in. And at the same time, let's go ahead and get the penguins moving to quarantine as well. Go. Penguin. All the way down here. Quarantine small 1. There you go. Cool. What do we have over here? Hungry animals. I gotta rename BBM A514 or A5, yeah, 14. Nutrition. Haven't eaten, or your food's just not been great lately. Thought I upgraded the food quality. Maybe just a matter of timing here. We'll keep an eye out on it. More vet research complete over here. It's so fun seeing the activity. I've really enjoyed these last recent handful of sessions, watching the animals run around and you know, play the keyboard, or more than anything else, interact with each other. That's my favorite stuff to watch, is the animals interacting with each other. How like the babies play with the adults, or how the adults play with like each other and stuff. Are you gonna climb? Oh hey, well what do you know? Moments like this are fantastic. Got bored of this view real fast. Alright, fair enough. Alright, fair enough. You're bored that quickly, I understand. These guys are all hungry. Why are you guys hungry? Let's go ahead and call the keeper, just in case. And I do want to make sure we upgrade our keepers more, and we oh, stop. Hopefully that happened right in time. Ooh, the size. Oh, okay, no. I was like, what's the size difference? Wild. And I realized no, it's because one of them's on top of a little mound over here. We should be good. Yeah, we're good. No babies. Good stuff. Good stuff. Facility broken down. Yeah, I think we need not just to hire more people, but also to level some of the people up. Again, we did a little level up a couple of sessions ago now, I think. 2 sessions? Last session? We did a leveling up round. I think it's probably still happening. But something to keep an eye on. Okay, then D-Way is done. Take a little bit longer to do the others. Give it a minute. And, whoop. How are you still able to escape? They're not dangerous. Come on now. No barrier here. Oh, I see. This little, like, lip over here. Okay, fair enough. Punch. No, not you. You, gotta nudge you over. No, not you. This thing, gotta nudge this thing over. There we go. That should do the trick. Cool. More quarantines being passed over here. I said more quarantines being passed over here. Got our penguins ready as well, I think. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get the ostriches moving first. Move all of you over to Habitat 50, which of course we'll need some name suggestions, folks, so don't hesitate to bring some in. And then we got to get our penguins over. We needed another one, didn't we? We needed 4. Double check before I commit to that. Over to Waddle Walk. There you go. Perfect. And we'll check our counts and stuff afterwards. I just want to see the ostriches come through. I want to make sure that they are having a good time, and then hopefully the people come through, check them out, and have a good time as well. Oh no. Fabiana, our giant anteater, has died. Okay, so, let me call the vet. I thought we had an award-winning giant anteater, didn't we? We had something. No, it was a Baird's tapir, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a Baird's tapir. So I need a new giant anteater. What about animal storage? Do we have a giant... What do we do? Louisa. Decent stats. Not amazing, but decent stats. With Marcus, that'll be inbreeding. With Fernando, it would be inbreeding. That doesn't fly. Fabiana's dead, I thought. What do I have? Where do I have all these anteaters? Giant Anteater. Just the one in here. Do I have multiple adults in here? When did that happen, and why did I allow it? You're also an adult. You gotta get sent to the trade center. Sometimes I wonder if I should slow down animal aging even more. Just so we can, like, we can worry about it a little less, you know? Garden. Fernando. Get you out of here? Yeah, let's, get out of here, buddy. The trade center. And we need a new female giant anteater. Where are we? Giant anteater. Cool. Teresa or Barbara. Let's go with Teresa, I suppose. Slightly better. Let's go ahead and send you over to quarantine. This is a busy day for all the vets working quarantine. Where are we? Quarantine small. There we go. And our ostriches look like they are arriving. Let's go ahead and check them out as they run around. And hopefully, guests will make their way over. Oh, look at that. And hopefully they'll have a good time. Hopefully people will be awestruck by the ostrich. Oh, wow, that was bad. That one's indefensible. Yo, but jokes aside, I'm a little awestruck myself. This is nice. It's fun to just watch them run around. Their like plumage and stuff, as like the way it bounces around. I quite like that. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, I can barely keep up. These guys are fast. These guys are fast. They're really nicely done. Seem to be having a good time. I'm pretty happy with the space we've made for them, actually. I think we've done a pretty good job of making a space for them that they can run around in and just enjoy. I think the guests will like this space. I think the guests will like the freedom they have as well to roam around. Of course, it starts to rain, and I think it'll be neat to have the mixed enclosure. You know, we haven't done. We've never done a mixed enclosure with this many animals, I don't think. I don't think we've had the opportunity, so I'm pretty excited for that. It's like a strangely majestic being, you know? I wouldn't call them traditionally majestic. Oh no, are you gonna get out of there? That's what I was worried about. During the time lapse, you might have noticed as well. I was a little worried they might be able to escape. So we gotta make some adjustments. Okay, they're definitely able to escape. Oh man, me and my birds. Me and my birds. This is amazing. Look at it. Look at that. Okay, that's like this is our thumbnail, right? This is it. Like look at that full tilt. There's a massive opening. This bird's just like, time to go. Let's get out of here. It just makes me think of the peacocks every time. Oh my god, from Militu North. But look at the detail. Just look at the. I'm just absolutely in love with like the level of detail and stuff on some of these animals. It's crazy. Hey buddy, I've always loved their faces. They're absolutely adorable. Well, the eyes of an ostrich that's eyeing an escape. Look at that though. Look at okay. I know I'm like bear with me here, please. Look at how dynamic this is, right? Like the angle over here. You've got like the tension line over here. You can see the rush. You can see the security guard just walking away. I love this shot. This is amazing. It is amazing, and it's backlit as well, so you got that like dramatic silhouette going. Oh, this is great. This is great. But I do think I have to kind of close them in, right? Just can't get over the shot. All right, cool. I just like, I don't know. It's a beautiful pose as well. This ostrich thinks it's a flamingo. So good. Nothing but respect for the artists behind all this stuff. Just amazing. Just amazing. All right, cool. Enough freaking out over the quality of the work in this game. How do I block you in? So my plan again was to like build something custom. I was hoping I'd have a bit more time to do it. I guess temporarily I could go ahead and... Nope, I can't because this goes down over here. I can nudge you up. Add another one over here. Pop you up there. Maybe I can do this for now. You're just gonna hop over that, aren't you? This is a temporary measure. I will be doing something more permanent the next time we sit down over here and build something to make sure the birds aren't able to get out like that. Let's go ahead and unpause. But oh no, you still managed to get out. I love it. That's priceless. That's priceless. But yeah, so we also need some name suggestions apart from just the enclosure itself. We also need some name suggestions for the info center, for the just a memento, for our Pipshot water up over there. We have over here a Pipshot juice, Chief beef, the Cosmic Cacao ice cream, and of course a washroom as well. So a couple name suggestions available for those, and of course the enclosure itself as this storm is coming down real hard. Oh man. So yeah, it's gonna be, what I'm wondering is, do I want to perhaps wait until all the animals are in before I start adjusting these needs, or you know, like what do I do on that front? Because it's gonna be, that's I think gonna be the challenging aspect, is balancing the needs of all of these animals all at once, right? Because there will be, I suspect there will be some differences. I suspect. More soil needed. Sure, why don't we add some soil down over here? There we go. And once the sun's actually up, I can finesse it a bit more. Oh wow, coverage. We're going over our coverage limit already. Yikes. Good to know. Good to know they really like their planes, eh? That's also going to be a thing. So I wonder, again, if we expand this space a bit more, those percentages, again, it's all percentages, right? So we'll have a bit more room to play with. So I do wonder about that. What's the deal here? What do we got going on? Quarantine pass for you. Low welfare for our bonobos. Alright, I need to check what's up. First, over to Pachamama's garden with you. Pachamama's garden. There we go. Why do you have low welfare? What's going on here? I haven't eaten in a long time. I know my ostriches, by the way, also have low enrichment, so we'll look into that too, but what's the deal with food here? Call the keeper in. Because that's going to cause some trouble for us otherwise soon. Well, not just soon, it's happening now. The animals are starving. Ostrich. Get some sprinklers down. And a small, colorful ball, I suppose. Give them at least some enrichment to start with. They actually, it says 100% hard shelter. I'm not sure where they're getting their hard shelter, or if they just don't need hard shelter, which is okay, fair enough. Better. We'll finesse it. And hopefully we'll keep an eye on these bonobos as well. Good stuff. Good stuff. Very fascinating creatures. Look at that run. Look at that run. Oh, come on, keep. I like the run animation a lot. What are you up to? I want the walk animation as well. It's one of those things. It's like the cassowary to me. It's like the cassowary where it's just like, if you ever needed evidence that birds and dinosaurs were related, just just watch these birds move. You know, look at those. Look at the way the leg moves. So good. Whoa. What's not so good is this inbreeding over here. Contraceptives for you. And the other thing that's not good is that, folks, that's not good. But yeah, the other thing that's not good is that, folks, this is, we're going to call it a session. A very productive one today. I'm pleased with just getting the new animal in, getting the foundation of this space set up. I'm pretty pleased with how it's going to function overall as far as, you know, guests coming through and checking the place out. I'm hoping... Oh, this is a... Good. Cool. I can fix this easily. Oh, this is a problem. No, it's not. There you go. Cool. So I'm hoping guests will be able to relatively easily access all this, and they have a reason to come up over here. Down over here, we'll establish some of these some stores as well, but also vistas are coming to Planet Zoo, which should help draw guests to certain spots and locations. So we can pull them down over there. We can also get a bit. The first thing I thought about was this spot up over here that I've wanted to see people use. Right, we could get those vistas set up. And I think that'd be quite nice. But that's all, you know, all in due time. But folks, I hope you enjoyed this session. I'm quite pleased with it. I'm quite pleased with the direction we're headed in for the next couple of sessions as we try to get all these animals in there. I might need to expand this space a bit more just to get them all in there with enough space, you know, for each of the animals. In which case I might expand it a little bit deeper, or over this way. I'll do something like that maybe. I don't know. I quite like this viewing point, so maybe something deeper up that way. Stuff to think about. But folks, if you had a good time, you know what to do. Let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. As always, it makes a massive difference in how I approach content on the channel, what I do, what I don't do. Y'all know the drill by now. As always, of course, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big ol' thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.